beginning of this week's Parsha, the Torah teaches us about the various roles and responsibility, about all the Levim and the Levites that they had during the time of the Mishkan. Specifically, during the time that the Mishkan was transported, the Mishkan was a structure that was put up and taken apart as the Jews traveled the 40 years in the desert towards Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land. And every single place that they journeyed to, they put up this structure, the Mishkan, and then they took it apart. And as they traveled, different portions of the Levim, different families of the Levites, carried different components of this Mishkan. The beginning of this week's Parsha talks about the family of Gershon and their roles and responsibility. The Torah says, Nasso as Rosh B'nai Gershon Gamhem. Go ahead and conduct the census for the people of Gershon in order for us to know how many people from Gershon would be counted and be able to go ahead and take part in this responsibility. And then it says, Zos avodas b'nei har Gershuni. This is the work for the people from Gershon, avodah l'maso, to carry the heavy and large objects. And the question I want to raise this week is, why does the Torah have to specify and say, also them? Go ahead and enlist the people from Gershon, also them. And I think this underlines not only a lesson which existed back then, but something that we're all familiar with. And that is, many times when we volunteer or we take part in a project for the greater good, there are always more desirable undertakings that someone may want to do. Somebody may want to go ahead and have a certain aliyah or a certain maftir and want to contribute that way. And there's sometimes things which are less desirable. You know, cleaning up from a kiddush or from another event afterwards doesn't sound as exciting or as glamorous. And what we have to remember is an important lesson. That is, it's not so much what you're doing, but what's rather important is what you're doing it for. If you're doing it for the greater good, for the cause, to get closer to God through an avodah of a mitzvah, then it doesn't really matter what the person's specific role is. And that's what we talk about the people from Gershon. They went ahead and carried large and heavy structures. They were not carrying the ark or the menorah like their cousins from Kahas were. They were doing some heavy lifting. But that was avodas hakodesh, that was holy work, because they were doing it for the right reasons. Folks, in our lives, many times we have opportunities to volunteer or be engaged in something, but it doesn't sound so exciting and glamorous because it doesn't necessarily feel spiritual. But let us remember the people of Gershon, the lesson that they taught us, that sometimes you can be carrying a heavy object, but if you're doing it for the sake of the mitzvah, it may all be worth it. Have a wonderful Shabbos.